Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of Marvel's What If Episode 2, which explores what would happen if T'Challa became Star-Lord, spared us all from Thanos, and left us with the Collector cosplaying as Hela. Those antlers don't belong to you. You don't deserve it. Set in my favorite corner of the MCU, the cosmic toy box of the Guardians of the Galaxy, this episode is filled with Easter eggs and subtle details, so let's break this down frame by frame for everything you missed. And big announcement here, we have a new latest obsession shirt, Cosmic Witness, that you can get at our merch store, newrockstarsmerch.com. This shirt is awesome, but like all of our latest obsessions, limited supply. And when you get this one, you'll get the added option to write in a custom shout out that will appear at the bottom of our Inside Marvel after shows. So again, you can support New Rockstars directly by getting this shirt at newrockstarsmerch.com. We open on Morag, coordinates M31B J00443799 plus 4129 236, the same as those in James Gunn's 2014 film, coordinates that Gunn has hinted point toward his infamous long-lost hidden Easter egg that he confirmed we at New Rockstars got a big piece of. The Watcher ponders,
is your destiny determined by your nature or by the nature of your world?
Getting at the deeper theme of nature versus nurture in this episode. Both Guardians films explore the idea of family and whether Peter Quill is forever cursed by his biological lineage or capable of redefining himself with a family of his own choosing. This episode ends up making a compelling case for nurture, with formerly scarred characters like Yondu, Thanos, Nebula, and Drax all positively benefiting from the experience of the fresh altruism of T'Challa in their lives. And T'Challa's formerly royal attitude of non-interference, now reshaped by his life as an explorer with all of them. And this episode ends with a dark cautionary tale favoring nurture, with the fear of what would have happened had Peter Quill not been nurtured by his chosen family. This opening scene has a few contrasts between T'Challa's approach and Quill's. T'Challa doesn't have an awesome mixed playlist to dance to, and Quill put the gravity trap on the floor, whereas T'Challa holds it in his hand and later repurposes it as a weapon. And of course, there's Korath's reaction.
I'm just a junker, man. I was just checking stuff out. Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by.
Star-Lord.
Who? Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
Versus...
I'm just an ordinary junker. But there is one name you may know me by.
Star-Lord! I'm a huge fan of your work.
Now, Chadwick Boseman voiced T'Challa here, one of 4 episodes this season that he recorded voices for before he passed away a year ago this month. Djimon Hounsou returns as Korath, and he's having a lot of goofy fun in the role. He says,
should we be bowing? I feel like we should be bowing. I mean, unless we should be kneeling.
Neither is necessary.
Please.
Similar to Bruce Banner's reaction to meeting T'Challa in Infinity War.
Should we bow?
Yeah, he's a king. What are you doing? We don't do that here.
Michael Rooker returns to voice Yondu, whose animated form has fewer random straps, and his jacket is a brighter Ravager red than the darker tone of his live-action wardrobe, showing off how he's not as too cool as he was before. Less of an overlord of his crew and more of one of the guys. T'Challa says,
if we still made like the old days, you'd only have half of your teeth.
Yeah, in the film, Yondu had a mouth full of golden teeth, but here you can see all of his teeth are still mostly in place. T'Challa continues,
besides, wouldn't you rather use it to jumpstart the Colorians' dying star? Save their system from extinction.
Colorians! That's a deep cut to the rom-comics of the 80s, where Colorians were a race of cat-like beings. T'Challa wants to save them because he comes from a Panther-oriented culture and he probably has an affinity for all things feline. Now, instead of the Milano, T'Challa named his ship the Mandela, my favorite detail from this episode. When T'Challa was abducted in the year 1988, Nelson Mandela was still a political prisoner. Mandela's South African dialect of Hosi was what the spoken language of Wakandan was based on for the film. And Mandela's voice recently cameoed in the MCU, echoing through the cosmos in the Loki finale.
We have fought for the right to experience peace.
Now, 20 years earlier in Wakanda, young T'Challa meets with his father T'Chaka, with John Connie returning to voice the role in the Wakandan throne room. And he wears traditional tribal garb over his Black Panther suit. Both of them are dressed as they were in a very brief flashback in Black Panther. Interesting detail here, as T'Chaka first walks up, there are 2 thrones side by side, perhaps for T'Chaka and Queen Ramonda, or for father and son, but later in the wide angle, it's back to just the one throne. Maybe an oversight, or a sign of T'Challa's abdication by leaving Earth behind. The Watcher's voiceover says,
what you call destiny is just an equation. A product of variables.
Yeah, interesting choice of words when you consider the recent What If promo displayed Uatu's pitch using the interface of the TVA.
Follow me. Enter the multiverse of infinite possibilities. Where the stories you thought you knew are nothing like you remember.
No treasure is worth as much as the good
that can be done with it.
And describing the multiverse as a math equation mirrors the explanation of He Who Remains, creator of the TVA, in that Loki finale. He had a series of nonlinear integration equations on his chalkboard. Yeah, just note, these two are speaking a very similar language, and I will remind you that in our season preview, I predicted a post-credit scene in which He Who Remains hosts the Watcher in his Citadel chamber moments before Loki and Sylvie arrived. The Wakandan border wall has, as it does in the films, a hexagonal grid structure, which matches the Uintian navigation grid of the universe seen in the Guardians films, Captain Marvel, and Endgame. Later this episode, we will learn that the Wakandans were actually experienced in space travel, meaning some of their tech might have been extraterrestrial influence. Kraglin is voiced by Sean Gunn again, and Taserface, the mutineer in Volume 2, voiced again by Chris Sullivan, explain.
I don't know, all humans look alike to me.
The cosmic readings where he was took nearly broke our dial. If there was anything not from that planet on that planet, it's there.
Referring to the meteorite in the prologue of Black Panther that's now the mines of Mount Bashenga. But then, back in the present, 20 years later, the crew hangs out on Contrexia. That's a snow-covered planet that we saw in Guardians Volume 2, but whereas those Ravagers hung out in the scummy street level, these guys kick it in the classy nightclub. Still, throughout the background, you can see the yellow sex spots hanging about. They relive their war stories.
What about the central bank heist of Tarnax 4?
Never hurts to hurt a Skrull, right?
Yeah, Tarnax 4 is the Skrull home world. First mentioned in the MCU, it might in the live action things be under Kree occupation since the Skrulls were refugees in Captain Marvel. We might visit this place in the Marvel film. Korath says,
Or how about when you arm the Ankaran resistance?
yeah, in the Marvel comics, Ankara is the homeworld of the Slig. It's from a 1979 Fantastic Four comic. And then this reveal.
How exactly did you stop Thanos, the Mad Titan, from decimating half of the universe? Oh, no.
I'm a big enough man to admit when I'm wrong.
Josh Brolin returns as Thanos, having moved on from being a Malthusian eco-terrorist thanks to T'Challa showing him the light. Now, T'Challa, having grown up in a bubble untarnished by imperialist conflict, instead in a peaceful state of tribes who settle their differences at Warrior Falls and share their resources with each other, might have been that X factor to break through to Thanos' sociopathy. And yeah, 20 years after 1988 would be 2008, right as Tony Stark started to become Iron Man, and 4 years before, Thanos would have sent Loki to attack Earth. So this Thanos hasn't even gotten close to his conquest of Earth in his warpath in the Infinity Saga. The bartender, meanwhile, is Drax.
You saved my home world from a Kree invasion. Let us take a picture to send to my wife and daughter.
Not voiced by Dave Bautista, though the producers of the show said that they tried to get in touch with him. But yeah, Drax is referring to his wife Yvette and their daughter Kamaria, the Kylosians killed by Ronan on Thanos' orders, but now another planet saved by T'Challa in this world. Nebula appears, Karen Gillan returning to voice her, now unscarred with hardly any cybernetic implants since Thanos must have spent fewer years torturing her, or might not have tortured her at all. T'Challa tells her,
You know he gardens now. You should talk to him. He really has changed.
referring to Thanos' retirement as a farmer on the garden in Infinity War and Endgame. Nebula tells him about a heist she's planning.
Do I have a job for you? They're called the Embers of Genesis.
Yeah, the music is the same jazzy heist music used in the Ant-Man films.
I was at a wine tasting with my cousin Ernesto, which was mainly reds, and you know I don't love reds, man. You know, but there was a rosé that saved the day. It was delightful.
Nebula calls the Embers of Genesis
Nutrient-rich cosmic dust from an ancient supernova with the power to terraform entire ecosystems. With 1 ounce, you can heal a dying planet in minutes.
Yeah, the Embers of Genesis aren't specifically in the Marvel comics, but they do seem like the same kind of cosmic particles that the Eternals might have used on ancient Earth to enrich the soil for agriculture. And yeah, this is the kind of reallocation of resources to stave off hunger that Thanos was referring to. He and Nebula butt heads here.
I thought you work alone, daughter.
Wait. You mean she's your offspring?
Adopted.
Yeah, a callback to one of my favorite MC running jokes between Thor and Loki.
And he's my brother.
He killed 80 people in 2 days.
He's adopted.
I've never met this man in my life.
He's my brother.
Adopted.
Hey, you know what's just as fun as video games? Saving money on video games. Well, thanks to our friends at Ubisoft for sponsoring this video. Ubisoft is having sales on 2 of their best-selling franchises, Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Rainbow Six Siege. The sale is happening now from August 12th to August 18th. You can save up to 75% off Rainbow Six Siege. Choose your operators and engage on intense missions in Rainbow Six Siege iconic maps. Plus, for a limited time, play the Containment event and unlock bonus content. content. And then save up to 33% off Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Play as Eivor, conquer England, and bring glory to your clan. Plus, save 25% off the Assassin's Creed Valhalla Season Pass and try the newest expansion, The Siege of Paris. So click on the link in the description to take advantage of these deals going on now from August 12th to August 18th. Now, in Thanos' absence, the Collector Tanileer Tivan, seen in Guardians of the Galaxy and in Infinity War, has emerged instead as the feared tyrant of the galaxy. Which does make sense because the Collector, for a few minutes in MCU history, had both the Power Stone in his possession while the Reality Stone was hidden elsewhere in his vault. And he knew what both of those were. He was very close to being a rival to Thanos, if you think about it. T'Challa and Yondu argue in the Collector. This is the massive Ravagers ship that Yondu escaped and destroyed in Guardians Volume 2. Yondu says,
"We steal from the rich and give to the poor, just like that Earthling folk hero of yours, right? Robin Leach."
Robin Hood.
Robin Leach marveled over excessive wealth and lifestyles of the rich and famous. Love that joke. Nebula says,
The Collector's got a famous kink for exotic flora and fauna.
Yeah, reminding us of when the Collector weirdly offered to buy Groot's corpse. Now, Benicio del Toro said in an interview that Tivan sees himself as a Noah figure, his collection an ark to rebuild after some galaxy-wide destruction. And Groot, as a Flora Colossi who respawns after death, could be made of a tissue rooted in the embers of Genesis. Then on to Nowhere. Tivan has the Black Order running security, so we see Proxima Midnight, Corvus Glaive, Ebony Maw, and Cull Obsidian all returning from Infinity War and Endgame. But Karina greets them, voiced again by Ophelia Lovibond from the movies, and she introduces them to Tivan.
I present to you Tanileer Tivan, the Collector.
Oh, my dearest Nebula, aren't you a sight for sore eye? Forgive me, I couldn't help myself. Oh!
And yes, Benicio del Toro has returned here to voice the character. One of his collections appears to be a giant Wakandan rhinoceros, looking about as animated as it did in the live-action film. He now wears this elaborate chest plate that looks Asgardian in nature, or at least something designed by Eitri. It has these interesting engravings, not too dissimilar from Bandral's chest plate, or maybe a version of the Asgardian destroyer. In the vault, there is an easy-to-miss container with the giant cocoon from the post-credit scene Thor: The Dark World, which at first seemed like it was going to be Adam Warlock's cocoon until James Gunn changed it to have a new golden cocoon in the Guardians Volume 2 post-credit scene, and then retcon that first one as an ancient version of the Sovereign's cocoons. They pass Cosmo the space dog, who growled at Rocket in Guardians Volume 1, but here he wags his tail at T'Challa. Another contains a dark elf. And then, of course, Howard the Duck, with Seth Green returning as the voice. He directs T'Challa to the Embers of Genesis.
Cosmic Flora down the hall. Take a Louis at the Frost Giants, a Hard Ralph at the Cronins. You're gonna see a sign for Elvish literature? Ignore that. Total snooze.
Screw it.
Yeah, I love that scared quack at the end there. But yeah, he mentioned the Frost Giants. Those are Loki's people. Cronins, those are Korg's people. And Elvish literature. Maybe a joke about the long, dramatic Elvish dialogue we all had to sit through in Thor: The Dark World. Howard says,
You know what they say when you're out of luck. Always go duck.
I'm pretty sure no one says that.
Oh, they say it.
Really?
Totally.
Yeah, another little quack at the end there. It was a little rewording of his line in Guardians Volume 2.
You know what they say. You're out of luck until you've gone duck.
Howard stops for a drink at this bar that looks a lot like the Mos Eisley Cantina bar from Star Wars, though the bartender is the robot that kind of looked like a Celestial that was in the Sakaar bar serving Valkyrie drinks in Thor Ragnarok, so that bar just might be that setup. And T'Challa runs into this garage, which is filled with spaceships that we've seen before. Front and center is a Commodore, that's a pleasure craft of the Grandmaster Endui Gas from Thor Ragnarok. That's actually Tivan's brother, because they're both elders of the universe. Now to the right of that is another ship from the Grandmaster's garage. That's a green painted cube that Taika Waititi joked that he designed with an intentionally dumb shape. And then to the right of that, closest to us, the Quantum Realm vessel of Hank Pym that he used to rescue Janet Van Dyne. Now this being 2008, no, it doesn't really make sense for Tivan to have this because it didn't exist yet. But above that looks like an Avengers Quinjet. Then further on the left is a yellow Star Blaster. That's a fighter piloted by the Nova Corps fleet. And then to the left of that is a green ship with folded wings that looks like another ship from the Grandmaster's garage. Then to the upper right of the Star Blaster is the Necrocraft, piloted by Ronin Sicarian soldiers in Guardians Volume 1, and then another one of these was hijacked by Nebula to kamikaze into Thanos on Titan in Infinity War. Now on the far left, looks like it could be the Milano, though the wing engines are completely different. And then just behind the Star Blaster, looks like it could be an X-Wing from Star Wars, but the S-foils look completely different. Then T'Challa's necklace lights up when he finds a Wakandan spacecraft. Yeah, that was the sound of the talking drum. That was part of composer Ludwig Göransson's score for Black Panther. And again, proof that Wakandans were involved in space exploration, which is crazy. Now, the interior of this craft is covered in Wakandan lettering, which I took the time, of course, to try to translate. But I only made out a few words. You understand wasn't, and then you insane. Then in the cabin as we face the cockpit, it looks like positive, and then on the right side, and negative across the top, and then down the sides, simplify and then on the other side, make shapes. I don't know what this is. But T'Challa finds these mannequins wearing Dora Milaje garb, meaning the Collector must have killed these soldiers and now has their wardrobe on display. And he sees his Baba's recording.
My son, T'Challa, Crown Prince of Wakanda, was abducted from Earth by an alien spacecraft.
Yeah, the music there might sound familiar. That's the mournful ancestral plane track from the Black Panther score. Ebony Maw binds T'Challa by using the broken glass, similar to how he repurposed broken material in his fight against Doctor Strange and the others in Infinity War. Tivan uses a Cronin arm against T'Challa.
Hacks quite a wallop, does it not? I hacked it off the carcass of a terribly chatty Cronin.
Terribly chatty Cronin, this guy cut off Korg's arm! Now during this fight, I like how the talking drum picks up pace, just like it did to build up tension during T'Challa's Warrior Falls duel in Black Panther. Tivan's weapons include Captain America's shield, which in 2008 would have been frozen in polar ice, as well as Mjolnir, and then a dagger forged in dark matter taken from the ruler of the Dark Elves, that would have been Malekith's dagger, and then of course the headpiece of Hela, whom Tivan emulates with his gesture.
Oh, that woman had taste. A necrosword, courtesy of the Asgardian goddess of death.
No clue how he would have gotten this or any of this stuff, because Hela is a freaking goddess of death. I don't see how he could have taken it from her. Meanwhile, as Thanos and the others fight in the security, I love this, you can hear a bowling pin sound effect as he knocks him over. And when Yondu saves T'Challa, the Guardians of the Galaxy music plays.
Yondu, sweet! Now it's a party.
T'Challa and Yondu use the sticky fingers trick on Tivan to steal his gauntlet control, the same maneuver Tony Stark used on Thanos to steal that gauntlet in Endgame. And then on the reveal, we hear this great music. This is more music from the Black Panther score. And one of the prisoners closing in on Tivan is a Pluvian, the same race as Martinex from Sakaar Ogord's crew from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. As they leave nowhere, the embers of Genesis that killed the Black Order cause life to spring from that skull, making me wonder if it could reanimate in some form. They return to Wakanda and reunite with the family. Queen Ramonda is wearing the same white robes and headpiece that she wore when she greeted T'Challa on his return in Black Panther, and they all dine Okoye in Thanos talk.
My friend, that sounds an awful lot like genocide.
No, because it's random. And I might add, efficient.
Korath talks with Shuri. Meanwhile, Kraglin says,
"Jump points are the best. They make your face all scrambly, but they're a lot of fun."
Referring to their lightspeed jump sequence in Guardians Volume 2. And the final scene takes us to that Dairy Queen in Missouri, the same one from Guardians Volume 2. But here, adult Peter Quill listens to Space Age Love Song by A Flock of Seagulls. Could be from James Gunn's Awesome Mix Volume 3, since Volumes 1 and 2 mostly stuck to 70s music. Ego says,
"What, Peter? Can't spare a little time for dear old Dad?"
And his ship is parked out front, all while the Watcher says,
"Too bad this might spell the end of the world."
Bringing us back to that nature versus nurture debate of this episode. Further proof that nurture is so important, because for the Watcher to consider this apocalyptic means that Peter needed his experiences with the Ravagers and the Guardians. He needed to meet them first in order to know how wrong his biological connection to Ego was and be able to fight back against him. And the closing title card pays tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman, the hero this episode thankfully gave us another adventure with. Support New Rockstars by checking out our merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss. Follow and subscribe to New Rockstars. Thanks for watching. Bye.